we're going to get started. Welcome everyone to session 4. We are nearing the halfway mark. We're glad that you've chosen to join us. We're glad that you're choosing to live free. We're on our way together to map out new habits, a new life, and a new destiny. Robbie, I wanted to check in with you. How's it going in the first 24 hours? You're getting your sleep in? Good. Dreaming about cigarettes, of course, of course. That old pathway is still in the brain, and your brain's trying to use it to send you those signals. Well, we're so proud of you for quitting, for staying quit for 24 hours. Have you been checking in with your living free friend? Good. Excellent. And you're remembering those reasons, right? Healthier lungs, live longer, healthier puppy. In fact, I wanted to actually tell you, and just in general everyone, some information. I started thinking about the fact that you had pointed out, hey, I want my puppy to be healthy, and I hadn't thought about that specifically, so I went and looked up some information on the effects of secondhand smoke on pets. So dogs who are exposed to secondhand smoke tend to have more eye infections, they get allergies, they often will develop respiratory problems like asthma, and they'll get lung cancer as well from secondhand smoke. Several studies have found that there's probable links between secondhand smoke and getting nasal cancer as well in dogs. And in general, dogs who live around secondhand smoke cough more. Cats and birds get the same lung effects like dogs do, but it's interesting that cats have a couple other particular risks that dogs don't get from secondhand smoke. Cats will also be at a higher risk of getting lymphoma. Cats who are around secondhand smoke are 2 times more likely to develop lymphoma, which tends to be a high killer of cats. And the longer that a cat lives in a smoky household, the greater the chance that they're going to get lymphoma. So there's some definite connections there. Now, who's heard of third-hand smoke? So third-hand smoke is different from second-hand smoke. Second-hand smoke is someone next to you smokes and you breathe the smoke in. Third-hand smoke is someone smoked around you, or someone smoked in the area that you are now in at some point. You're not breathing the smoke directly out of the air, but you're still getting the dangerous particles from the surfaces around you. So this, for example, will happen, third-hand smoke exposure, for example, has been linked to higher ear infections in babies who are being carried on the shoulders of parents who smoke wearing a robe that they then carry the baby in. Well, third-hand smoke, I didn't know this, but third-hand smoke is dangerous for cats. Because when cats lick and groom themselves, they are more likely then to get what the veterinary website I was looking at it said was they're more likely to develop tumors in the mouths from licking off toxic particles that accumulate on their fur. So, great for your dog. Great for your puppy, Robbie. All right, we're going to continue on with today's session, which is entitled Creating a Lifestyle, Nutrition. Here in the U.S., healthcare is expensive. I'm a physician. I see it every day, the cost of medications, ER visits, hospitalizations, a lot of it to care for your illness. But there's a thing you can do on your own, a change you can make on your own to care for your health, not your illness, before things progress to illness, and it's cheap and affordable too. It's called improving your nutrition. When it comes to cravings, addictions, and appetite, the battle is not just for the bulge, it's for your biology, your beliefs, and your brain. Intentional positive choices restore your brain and body. We need to take control of the brain as we remove nicotine from the system. One of the greatest threats to healthful recovery and relapse prevention is substituting empty calories in place of whole foods that heal the nervous and immune system. So beware of excess refined sugar intake. Fernando Gomez-Panilla, a researcher from the UCLA Department of Neurosurgery, warns us about sugar. He says, eating a high fructose or an added sugar diet over the long term alters your brain's ability to learn and remember information. Our study shows that a high fructose diet harms the brain as well as the body. And I want you to tuck away that term high fructose because it's going to be a practical tool for your grocery shopping, which we're going to discuss in a bit. Clearly, there's a battle being waged for the mental, physical, and spiritual health of every man, woman, and child. The battle for the brain is a battle you can win, but it requires understanding, a plan, support, and the power of God. That's why we keep hammering those things home. Every meeting we're talking about those areas. And even though our primary target in this battle is to capture the brain, we need to also conquer another important organ, the stomach. The stomach has been called our second brain. Digestive health is a vital part of brain health. There are fascinating studies on the connections between how healthy your gut is and the incidence of various mental health disorders. A healthy stomach is essential for optimal mental and physical health. Your eating habits, your environment, schedule, and mental state all affect digestive health. And digestive health impacts the production of brain chemicals that influence your mood and stress levels. We've had people mention in the last few nights that one of the reasons that they want to quit is to improve their intelligence, and it is true. Getting nicotine out of your system will improve your intelligence, but eating better will also improve your intelligence. We talked about the harmful brain effects of sugar, but what about that other yummy fat? Foods high in saturated fat promote inflammation of the stomach lining, as do alcohol, hot spicy food, high sodium, and caffeine. Some examples of foods high in saturated fats include hard cheeses, red meat, lunch meats, butter, fried food, chips, and rich pastries. This type of diet could be called the chips, chops, and lollipops diet. And it inflames the stomach lining. So what? We're trying to quit nicotine by conquering the brain, right? Who cares about the gut right now? But here's the thing. The gut-brain connection is no joke. The connection goes both ways. A troubled intestine can send signals to the brain, just as a troubled brain can send signals to the gut. You ever been so nervous that your gut's acted up? Irritable bowel syndrome? Worried? Butterflies in your stomach when you're under stress? Well, that's the brain sending signals to the gut and the gut having sympathy with what's going on in the brain, but the vice versa happens as well. If your stomach, if your intestines, your digestion is out of whack, it can send to your brain signals saying, I don't feel well, and your brain starts to not feel well. Your intelligence goes down. Your stress goes up. You've heard about you are what you eat? This is the physiologic truth behind that statement. The health of your stomach, determined by what you eat, directly impacts the health and function of your brain. And do you want a healthy brain as you're trying to think and to make intentional changes and choices involved with quitting nicotine? Yes or no? Yes. Healthy plant-rich foods and spacing meals out at regular times create a powerful body-wide, multiple system-wide advantage in the battle for the brain. And now you might be thinking, well, this doesn't sound that attractive or that helpful. I'm choosing to take away nicotine from my brain, and I'm supposed to take away all the fun foods from my stomach as well? No, there's things to add into your diet, not just take away. As you eat less of the bad stuff, you will eat more of the good stuff. A diet rich in healing nutrition and fiber from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans provides real energy, real strength, not the artificial stimulation from sugar and fat that leaves you drained and depressed. Have you ever decided to just really let yourself go? I don't eat this normally, but I'm going to just have a lot of this right now. This is fun. Maybe it's a party. Maybe this is a special occasion. Pay attention. Think back. It is quite possible that later on you felt a crash. You felt a mental lull. You felt an emotional sink as those artificial products, as those artificially inflaming products went through your system, both your stomach and your brain. Now here's another concern that might come up. Well, what if I just don't like the taste of fruits and vegetables? Maybe you didn't grow up eating fruits and vegetables. Or maybe you used to, but now you've had other things which taste so much better than fruits and vegetables. Well, when you quit nicotine, not only is life better, but food tastes better. Remember we talked about how long after you stop putting nicotine into your system that your taste will improve? Anybody remember? 2 days. It's one of the first positives to start to happen. Taste and smell starts to improve in 1 to 2 days. And you'll find likely that foods have new tastes that you have forgotten. You may be surprised at how your food preferences can shift if you have a new tongue to taste with again. Now, what are some of the good things to introduce to your stomach, the good stuff to put in as we eat less of the bad stuff? Well, definitely fresh fruit. Fill up on fresh fruit. Fruit is packed with powerful nutrients and other compounds that increase energy. They reduce your stress. They control sweet cravings, importantly, because they have natural sugars, and they detoxify the system. Beans. Beans are high in fiber, protein, antioxidants, and minerals. They contain something called resistant starch, which helps healthy bacteria thrive, and they protect your colon cells. You can start pretty easily with the various canned beans on the grocery shelf, but if you really want the full spectrum of taste that beans can add to your meals, eventually you'll want to buy a slow cooker and learn to cook beans yourself. It's not very difficult to learn to season beans to just the way you like them and have some amazing hot and ready beans ready to go. If you put them in the slow cooker overnight, you've got a delicious meal waiting for you the next day. Vegetables. Enjoy a rainbow of colors, especially the leafy greens. If you're torn as to where to start, if you're just standing in the produce section, get at least a leafy green. If you want to save yourself some time, get one that's already washed and chopped and packaged ready for you. Those salad mixes that we talked about are a great place to get going. But the leafy greens are a great source of many antioxidants and phytochemicals, especially magnesium. Magnesium helps to calm the nerves. It boosts your energy. It improves your heart health. And the whole grains. Whole grains are hearty, flavorful, and filling. There's many more of them than you might even think of. They help control blood sugar, and they cultivate healthy gut bacteria. Bacteria in your gut, who cares about it? Well, again, studies show that if you have a healthy load of good, friendly, probiotic bacteria in your intestines, your mental function will be better as well as your digestion. The fiber-rich bran, the nutrient-packed germ, and the starchy endosperm are all natural parts that remain in whole grains. Those are lost when you have processed grain, white flour. Whole grains are good sources of fiber and magnesium, and they contain protein and B vitamins. You can start pretty easily to introduce whole grains in your diet by buying whole grain bread instead of white bread, making quick oats or cream of wheat for breakfast. Now, having summarized these potent nutrition categories for winning the battle for the brain, let's not forget one of the main ways to put the power of these foods to work, and that is exercise. The effects of daily exercise on brain health are nothing short of astounding. Exercise improves your mood. It lowers stress. It improves your memory. It enhances your learning. It increases your energy. As Dr. John Rady says about exercise in his book, Spark, exercise lights a fire on every level of your brain, from stoking up the neurons' metabolic forces to forging the structures that transmit information between cells. You're taking in lots of information. You're making new choices. You want that information to transmit quickly through other parts of the brain and build steady, concrete highways of information. So get that exercise. Here's a good reminder phrase. You might want to put this one in your journal. A motivating phrase. Motion balances emotion. Motion balances emotion. When you feel nervous, down, when you feel tempted, fighting that urge, go for a brisk soul stroll. It forces the brain to refocus. Exercise helps repair faulty circuits and heal the brain. Motion does what? Balances emotion. And we'll go into a lot more detail about exercise in session 5. But in summary, the combination of whole plant foods, daily exercise, and rest have potent restorative power. So eat for strength, not for nervous stimulation. Exercise, move it and improve it. Motion balances emotion. And practice makes permanent. These might sound like things that are just impossible to consider doing on a regular basis right now, but practice makes permanent. Now, we've talked before about avoiding or overcoming triggers. I'm curious, Robbie, have you run into any triggers that you didn't expect during these first 24 hours of quitting?
Just waking up, wanting one, and eating.
Waking up, okay. So like, that's one of the first things your brain thinks about when you turn on in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay, when do I get my first cigarette? Okay, and then eating. So the taste of the food or the act of sitting down?
After.
So as you're finishing the meal, your brain goes, and now it's time for the fun part.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about triggers. Now, let's introduce an acronym that's going to help us be aware of 4 major situations when a trigger might be about to occur. You'll want to write this in your journal at the top of your trigger page. The acronym is HALT, H-A-L-T. It stands for avoiding being overly hungry, anxious, lonely, or tired. Those are times or situations when we're often the least watchful and the most danger of relapse. When you detect one of those situations, it's time to halt and proceed with intentional care. It's time to ensure you're eating a high-fiber meal at a regular time. This helps keep you satisfied. It reduces cravings. It improves your mood. If there's anxiety, it's time to ask yourself, have I done any exercise today? Exercise, especially outdoors, will refresh and invigorate you and reduce your anxiety. If there's loneliness, it's time to make contact with people who support you. You still have cravings to deal with. Don't handle them alone. This is what your living free friend is for. Hey, just finished eating. Feeling the craving. Just want to let you know. Text, text, text. All right, I'm praying for you. Have you claimed a promise yet? Don't forget. And that little moment of connection reminds you, I'm not lonely. I might be alone at the moment that I'm here, but I'm not lonely. I have people who are supporting me. It's time to make sure you're getting plenty of rest time, getting extra sleep, especially before midnight. Help your brain process what you're teaching yourself. Remodel those habit pathways. And most importantly, it's time to choose to trust God regarding situations you have no control over. There will be times where triggers are going to hit and you had no control over it. You had no way of predicting it was going to happen. And now there you are. What do? You cry out, I want a better way. God, help me, I want a better way. So as you continue your battle for the brain, as you take responsibility for where you are and where you want to be, take heart. Because as those powerful paragraphs from last night, from the Steps of Christ passage we read last night, reminded us, God gave you a will, the power of choice, and you can surrender the will back to Him, and He'll make your choices even more power-packed. And that's a reminder that if you didn't get the handout from last night, entitled Your Will Empowered, you're going to want to have that. And if you want to read the entire material that handout is from, you'll want to read the book Steps to Christ, and we do have copies that you could pick up here tonight. The link is going to be in the YouTube video description as well if you want to be able to download that online and read it. The journey to freedom. Some things to think about are that every positive choice counts. Every positive choice counts. Every time that you decide, I am going to do this better thing than what I'm being urged to do, that counts. God is strengthening your will. Better choices make a better you. Your will, the power of choice, gives you responsibility. Not like you might think of it, responsibility, but response-ability. The ability to respond to triggers and urges. That's what the power of choice gives you. You have intentional conscious choice. Does that sound impossible right now? Well, here's another amazing promise from God. Be sure to include this one in your journal. And this one is not long. You can memorize this one easily. With men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Let's say it together. With men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Jesus knows how long you've struggled. His power and plan and promises are yours, but you must decide. You must give Him your will, your choice. He will help you recover and grow. He will help you persevere. You can have a new life with God. Living free is possible with God, because with God, all things are possible. Okay, well, it's time for some interaction. We're going to look at a couple discussion questions. I encourage anyone who's attending to answer. And of course, we do ask that you speak into the microphone that Dan will bring around so we can capture the audio for the recordings, but we will not turn the camera on you. So our first discussion question: what positive nutrition choices will become your daily habit? Or if you are not currently working on quitting smoking or making a change to your lifestyle, what positive nutrition choices have become a daily habit for you that you are really glad you have it, that you've seen a benefit from that positive nutrition choice? We have a hand right here.
I eat tons of fruits and veggies.
Tons of fruits and veggies. And why are you glad that you do that? What's the benefit to you?
I just feel good.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They digest well, keeps you regular.
My mind is clear.
Keeps the mind clear. That's right. I think Coralie had something to say as well.
It helps me when I make those good choices with keeping my blood sugars down with diabetes.
Yep, your diabetes does so much better. Your blood sugar does so much better. When you're eating well, you're eating regularly, and then you're getting that exercise linked in with your meal times. Yes?
Drinking enough water.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it clears up your mind, it takes away when you're sluggish or tired and you're sleepish instead of staying focused. It wakes you up. And also helps you to sleep better because the fluids in your body are thin. And it also helps you to stay away from bacteria and viruses because they like to find thick fluids. But when you're drinking enough water, you're staying away also from all of those bad things.
Thin out the mucus in the nose. That's right. If you've got a cold, one of the most important things you can do is drink extra water. That's right. Anyone else? All right, let's go to the second question. And this one's going to be more specifically pointed to our people who are currently quitting or working towards quitting, cutting back, using the just a minute technique. How have you successfully pressed through the urge to use nicotine? Karen or Robbie, do either of you have any times you could think of that you've had an urge and then you've pressed through? We're asking the question, how have you successfully pressed through the urge to use nicotine?
Back to sleep.
Say that again?
I went back to sleep.
You went back to sleep. All right, so you had an urge. Was this when you first woke up in the morning?
A couple times today, and I texted Steve at least twice.
I didn't catch the last you said.
And I texted Steve at least twice.
Texting Steve, right. So you had these techniques to be able to push through. You gave yourself permission to get that extra sleep, and you reached out to your friend for support. All right, let's go on to the Keys to Living Free portion of the presentation. Each time we review the Keys to Living Free, we go into greater detail on one or more categories. Tonight we're going to be focusing on successful weight and habit control. One of the biggest reasons people give for continuing to use nicotine, even though they know they should quit, is, I'm afraid I'll gain weight when I quit nicotine. Those of you who've lived a while longer, you may recall when smoking was actually touted as a way to lose weight. Keep the weight off, suppress the appetite. And it is true, it does have an effect on suppressing appetite. But as we've said from the beginning, Living Free is much more than a quit nicotine seminar. Living Free is a total health lifestyle intervention. And one of the additional goals of Living Free is to help you achieve and maintain your healthy weight. As you make healthy lifestyle choices which are aimed at breaking the hold of nicotine on your brain, well, surprise, good news, those same choices all help to promote weight loss and healthy weight maintenance. Eating more raw, crunchy fruits and vegetables helps quench the urge to put junk food or drinks in your body. Having a crunchy vegetable in your hand to put up to your mouth instead of a cigarette gives you something to do to start changing the habit of hand to mouth. When you stop smoking, chewing, or vaping, healthy food tastes better. And eating healthier food will help you also lose weight and have more energy. You may feel like you're slowing down without the artificial drug stimulation, especially if you're giving up the toxic trio, caffeine and alcohol as well as nicotine. But your body is recovering and gaining real lasting strength, which will greatly improve your exercise capacity. And greater exercise capacity will in turn improve your weight control. The last session we discussed a vital first key to living free, creating an environment for success. We talked about how we think and how what surrounds us has an impact on our desire and ability to quit. Well, the second key we're going to talk about is creating a lifestyle. And let's start with nutrition, which is vital for both quitting nicotine and maintaining a healthy weight. Healthy food choices will help you enjoy your best possible health physically, mentally, and spiritually. Healthy food choices will help you curb cravings, cut calories, and reach and maintain your best weight. Now I want to ask, this is open to anybody here, I'd just like to hear some of the reasons that you eat. What are some of the reasons you eat? Anyone? Oh, everyone here eats, so you can't play that card on me. What are some of the reasons that you eat?
Tastes good.
It tastes good, says Dan, all right.
Have energy.
For the energy, okay?
Bored.
To have something to do. Yeah, okay. Anything else? Susie has one.
Satisfying.
It's satisfying, okay, to have a good feeling during or after eating, okay? Anyone else? We've got one up here. The lovely young lady in front.
I enjoy the social interaction when we're eating all together.
Yeah. Food can have a very strong central role in gathering people around it and giving you something to do as you talk and hang out. Anyone else? All right, let's discuss some of the healthy reasons to eat. We heard quite a few of them there already. We eat for strength. We eat to care for our minds and to nourish our bodies. And we eat to fuel and fortify God's temple. The good foods which God has provided for you are a daily reminder of His love for you. Go back and read where God creates food in the first couple chapters of Genesis. He specifically talks about making things that are going to taste good. And these things are designed to keep your mind and body healthy as well. Not just taste good on the tongue, but have so many effects throughout your mind and body so you can choose to love Him back in return, to love the one who made these foods for you because He loves you. What are those good foods? We've talked about them earlier here tonight. I'm just going to run through them again really quickly. We've got fresh fruit, fresh and cooked vegetables, beans, and whole grains. It's the power plate habit. These foods are rich in nutrients and high in dietary fiber. They'll help fill you up and keep you fuller longer. And they are also foods that detox your body, balance blood sugar, and restore your nervous system. If you go online or you watch enough infomercials, you'll get under the impression that to detox your body involves paying somebody a lot of money to sell you some mysterious items that you'll put in your body which will somehow act, I don't know, like silly putty or something, kind of sticking onto all the nasties and pulling them out of your system. But what your body is asking for is the things that have been in place ever since humans were created. The things that were made to grow and be available to us through the water cycle and through sunlight to be able to give us the nutrients that will cleanse our body and keep us functioning at optimal efficiency. Now, let's talk about shopping smart. Here's a few helpful tips to get you started as you try to make intentional, better choices on what you are eating. Create a grocery list, planning ahead, and then stick to it. It's two parts. Number one means you've got to start thinking about, okay, what am I going to want to eat, and what are the things I need to have in order to be able to eat that thing, or to make this thing, or cook this thing. So you have to plan that in advance. Find a way to write it down. If you are in a mixed household, there are plenty of grocery list apps out there that you can have on your phones. And then as any person in the house thinks, oh, we're going to need more of these, you can enter them in there, and everybody's phone has the list on it. So you've got something ready to go. But then the harder part is when you get to the grocery store to go, I'm getting what's on my list, and I'm not going to impulse buy. And that's difficult. It's not just difficult because you're there and you're just kind of looking around and you want. It's because the stores are designed to make you impulse buy. The closer you get to the cash registers, the less likely what you're putting in your basket is going to be helpful for you. So stick to your plan. Another tip is go shopping right after a meal so you're satisfied and not hungry. Who here has ever grocery shopped while hungry? Who here has ever been in a convenience store at a gas station that happens to have like a mini grocery and you were so hungry you ended up shopping there? I mean, at that point, just give up. You know you're going to be eating terribly. But when you are hungry and you're in a place where foods are available and you have choices, you're probably not going to make the most nutritious choices. What you're going to go with at that point is another version of the impulse buy. Oh, that looks and tastes so good. I remember one time I had that. It was so yummy. I'm getting that right now. If you go shopping when you're full, you can stick to the plan much better. Because now you can remember, yes, this is why I came up with this list. This is why I want to get the healthy things. And I'm not just buying based on what my stomach is yelling at me. Another thing is stay in the healthy areas of the store. If you've got a plan and you're going to stick to the plan, there's no reason to go wandering down the aisles that aren't part of your plan. A good rule of thumb, by the way, is the periphery of the grocery store tends to be the healthiest. As soon as you go in, if you hang a hard right or a hard left, and then you just kind of go around the periphery, you'll get the majority of your healthy stuff there. And then if you have a plan that involves, I have to go to some of these aisles down the middle, you go in ninja style. I'm going in, I've got my eye on the goal, and I'm going in, I'm getting my thing, and I'm getting out. Don't linger. Don't wander down one aisle after the next with your finger tracing over familiar old packages, knocking things haphazardly into your cart. Oh, we'll think about that later. No, no, no. You've got a plan. Stick to your plan. The snacks, candies, and sodas, have you ever noticed this? All tend to be in the aisles down the middle of the store. The idea is that people will then use those aisles to make their way out of the store, and that's when they're going to want to impulse buy. Avoid those aisles. You don't need to go through those aisles to get to the cash register. Now, what kind of items should you put on your list? Here's an easy one to remember. Colorful things. Choose color. Visit the Department of Defense. That's the produce department. Whole grains like brown rice, oats, quinoa. If you've never heard of quinoa, it doesn't sound the way that it's spelled. Q-U-I-N-O-A, quinoa. And hearty multigrain breads and pasta. And you should use the power of produce to fill you up without ramping up the calories. Here's something interesting I learned as I was looking through this material. So a Danish, a tasty thing, feels great on the mouth for a few seconds as you swallow it down, doesn't provide much nutrient or help afterwards. But you get the same number of calories from one Danish as you would by eating an apple, a banana, an orange, and half a cantaloupe. Have you ever eaten that many fruits at one sitting? So imagine if you started eating just some of those fruits when you had the urge to eat a Danish. The calories that you would get would also come with more nutrition and fiber and flavor than you would get from that one Danish. Now, speaking of getting high-quality calories, when you're making your grocery list, beware the bottles, bags, and bars. Fast foods are often where the hidden calories hang out. The louder something crinkles when you put it into your grocery cart, the less likely it's going to be helpful for you. A 32 ounce of soda may contain up to, any guesses? How many teaspoons of sugar do you think could be in 32 ounces of soda? 24 in a 32 ouncer. 24 teaspoons of sugar. A small bag of potato chips can pack more than 300 calories. And a medium chocolate bar is loaded with sugar and fat. Avoid the bottles, bags, and bars if at all possible. And then there's the #1 source of added sugar in the United States. Soda. Or pop. Whatever you want to call it. If you drank just one 12-ounce can of soda a day, that would eventually result in you having consumed 75 cups of sugar in 1 year with one soda can a day. How many of you see people, and maybe this is yourself too, but I'm not pointing any fingers, how many of you see people stopping in at gas stations and coming out with those big gulps? 64 ounces of soda. Many people make that part of their morning routine. That's how they get going for the day. 12 ounces is 75 cups. 64 ounces, you do the math. A lot of the sugar in that soda is in the form of one of the most insidious food products you can put in your body. And this is a term we highlighted a little earlier in the seminar. The words high fructose. Well, if you ever see the term high fructose corn syrup on something, walk away. High fructose corn syrup has no redeeming value whatsoever. It is there purely to get you addicted to the taste and to make the product last longer so that it has a longer shelf life and therefore has a greater chance of being purchased. High fructose corn syrup is awful for your brain, awful for your kidneys and your liver, awful for your metabolism, awful for your joints. So, get in the habit of reading the labels before you buy. In general, that's a good habit to get into. Now, you might feel like, well, I'm not a food scientist. How am I going to understand all the things in the labels? I'm not telling you to become a food scientist. Right now, I'm just telling you, easy label read #1. You see high fructose corn syrup on there, put it back, move on. Now, what do you guess after having now, this is our 4th night of having these meetings, what would you guess we're going to recommend to drink in place of soda? Water? You're right. Keep drinking plenty of water. Get that high fiber. Get those natural foods at meal times. And then between meals, keep the water flowing. Because water also helps you to avoid false hunger signals. Many of us can easily fall into the trap of going, well, my stomach's telling me it's hungry, therefore it must need something to chew on. Let me put some food in there. I got to be nice to my stomach. But the hunger signal is not connected directly to you're out of nutrients and you're about to die if you don't put something else in there to digest. Hunger is not a direct connection to starvation. Your brain interprets it that way. Oh, I'm starving. Have you ever said that term? I'm starving. It's very unlikely that any of us living in the United States have ever actually been speaking the truth when we said, I'm starving. Now, if you, I don't know, you lost all your groceries, you were on a camping trip and the bear took all your food and now you're hiking up for 2 days. Okay, maybe in that situation you were starving. But usually when your stomach sends you the signal, hungry, and your brain goes, starving, it's not actually starvation, it's just a hunger signal. And that hunger signal can be turned off by drinking water. Granted, it's not going to turn it off as long as putting food into your stomach will, but having that water trick will get you through a lot of those times where you feel the need to go, I'm just going to snack on a little something, because it's so easy to then choose something unhealthy to snack on. Drinking water, as well as we talked about, flushes the system, empties out the things that are working against your brain's high functioning. Keeping water going helps to prevent overeating, and of course it helps to prevent dehydration. Now, don't forget those 10-minute walks. Try to take several a day. A 10-minute brisk walk can improve mood for an hour, and the more you move, the more weight you lose. Every walk helps. Speaking of moving, it's about 6:40. It's time to move a little bit, like we did last night. Everybody, hands up. Now wiggle the fingers. Now stretch. And down. A little movement. We're waking the brain back up and keeping on going. Now, I've been really pushing you guys to focus on sleep. We've talked a lot about sleep, and there's going to be more coming about sleep in our next session. The next session focuses on exercise and sleep. Okay? But I'm really pushing you especially to help recover from the stress of nicotine withdrawal, to get your extra sleep. And even past the withdrawal stage, getting good sleep is vital for losing weight and keeping it off. Remember, we talked about the circadian rhythm, that brain chemical cycle that goes back and forth for day and night, awake time and sleep time. Your circadian rhythm is programmed to trigger the best brain and body changes if you go to sleep before midnight. Because when you're asleep and you go down deep, when you get into those lowest levels of brain function where the sleep is just so good, that's when your body handles a lot of the metabolic shifts that process the nutrition. So eating well is important, but you don't benefit as much if all you're doing is sticking the food in the body and not giving the body a chance then to process it. This is why sleep is so important, and it's also why eating at regular times is important too. If you're constantly whipping the stomach with, hey, new delivery of things to process, new delivery of things to process, the ability for the gut to then absorb the good things and make use of them is diminished. So get that good sleep at a good time, and we're going to spend a lot more time focusing on that in our next session. And I hope you all have your Better Way journals with you. And I hope that if you don't have one with you, that you're already looking for a method, you're thinking about a method, and that you start recording your new choices and your learning experiences in it. Again, this sounds like you're just being given homework. Why do I need to be writing things down? I'm working on quitting something. But remember, you are using the information that you've written down from what you've taken in to create new pathways in your brain. You're using it to be your own support at times when you go, I need a better way. What can I do? Oh, wait. I remember I had a similar trigger yesterday. Let me flip back to my journal. Oh, yes. What I did when I had this trigger yesterday was I drank some water. I went for a walk. I realized it was time to eat, and that's why I'm having so many cravings. You need that to be able to refer back to, because your brain is going to try to fool you into thinking, no, you've been suffering forever. You will suffer forever into eternity as well unless you give me that nicotine, and you're not going to let that happen. Nicotine is not an option. So record your new choices and learning experiences in your journal. Record your promises from God, your motivational phrases, your triggers, and your tactics to crush urges. And you may want to share some of your discoveries with a friend or with your living free friend, your accountability partner. By making new choices in all these lifestyle areas, you're crushing the urge to smoke one day at a time. But it takes time and perseverance to recover lost ground and form healthy habits. God will give you guidance, power, and the determination to stick with it. You may have had a victory journey like this in the past. You can have it again. All right, so time to discuss. Which of the keys to living free are you ready to implement? Think for a moment about what we've talked about. What keys? We talked about creating an environment, internal thoughts, think differently, reframe, refuse to believe what your brain tries to tell you about, oh, you're a failure. Replace those negative thoughts. Remember we talked about how to create a better external environment, rearrange the furniture, clean things up, get rid of the smell of smoke, take a new route to work. And now today we've talked about creating a lifestyle. We've touched mainly on nutrition with a little bit about water and exercise and sleep. Those will come later on. You don't have to do everything at once, but I encourage you to make a step towards at least one key per day. Robbie, I want to give you the opportunity, since you're our person who quit yesterday, I want to give you an opportunity here to speak. What's one of the keys to living free that you are ready to implement? Maybe you didn't do it in the past 24 hours, but you're thinking, okay, this is something I'm going to need to do to get through the next 24 hours. I need to make some kind of a change, whether in my thinking, in my environment, or in my nutrition. Do you have any thoughts on any of those categories?
Get up and move a little more.
To move a bit more. All right, well, you're very fortunate that the weather is turning out beautiful now. There's going to be some great weather here for getting outside, breathing that fresh air, getting a little sunlight, actual sunlight in February. Don't let that get by you. All right. And then the other question is, what is your action step? There's plenty to pick from. If you haven't started a journal yet, I would really encourage that to be your next action step, because you're going to want to be able to refer back to information that we've been giving you. But think about what your action step is going to be. Now, I'm curious if anyone here who's keeping a journal has an entry that they might want to share. I want to make this an opportunity, because I told you yesterday we're going to start making this kind of a regular thing each meeting. Do you have something you want to share from your Better Way journal? An urge you overcame, a promise that you claimed, a trigger that you detected ahead of time, or that you managed to dodge once it came at you. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share for that?
Don't eat when I'm hungry.
Don't eat when I'm hungry. Oh, don't shop when I'm hungry. Don't shop when I'm hungry. That's right. That's right. So that's going to become an important factor for you to keep in mind as you're working, I know specifically, on trying to have less sugar and salt. God's promises are powerful, and He's given us the nutrition we can use for a healthier lifestyle. Will you choose His plan for your diet today? If that is something you feel in your heart being called to do, or maybe that you already do, but you know you could pay a little more attention to it, maybe in how you eat, how frequently you eat, what you do in between meals. If it is your intention to choose God's plan for your diet today, will you raise your hand? All right, let's stand and repeat together our group promise and prayer and affirmation. Let's repeat this powerful promise from God together. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God knows how to deliver you out of temptation. He will put the desire in your heart and help you persevere, to quit for good and to build a new life, a life without the chains of addiction. Let's say it again. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I hope that that's going to echo through your mind every time that an urge comes, every time that a trigger comes, or you feel like I just can't continue on. Remember this. Let's say this prayer together out loud. Dear God, thank you that by your power and strength, I am living free. And lastly, let's remember, we're not just getting rid of nicotine, we're replacing it with a life of living free that, as we talked about tonight, includes eating better and watching to see how God will use His diet plan to also help us have better weight, have more exercise stamina, and to have success over the quitting of nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. Let's say it together. I hate nicotine, but I love living free. One more time. I hate nicotine, but I love living free. Please bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you that you have given us such amazing options to eat, that you knew from the beginning, as you were designing our systems, that there were going to be foods that could make us function at top capacity, both physically and mentally, and that would help us control our emotions, and that would help us to have the wisdom and the self-control to choose the right ways and to love you back too. What an amazing design you made. I ask, Lord, that you will help us as we go from here tonight to focus carefully on what we are putting into our mouths, what we are spending our time doing during meal times, that you will also help with those cravings associated with finishing a meal, that you will give us your courage and your peace in our hearts to make it through each day, knowing that as we continue to journey with you to freedom, you will bring us there, because that is your desire for us. Bless each person who is here tonight, and we want to pray especially for Robbie, who is in the process of quitting. We want to pray for Karen, who's here and not feeling as well as she should be. We ask that you will help heal her soon. Please bless Michelle and Mitch, and be with all others who might be watching this series. Help them also as they are gathering the strength to live free. We love you. Amen. Now, make sure that you get your balanced living tracks for tonight. There's 3 of them tonight. Healthy Weight Helps, Health in a Hurry, and Quenching the Fires of Heart Disease. We didn't talk specifically about how nutrition and heart disease connect, but there's a lot of links there, so make sure you get those 3 tracks. Again, the links are on the screen for those who want to watch online and want to download the tracks and the handouts. All the seminars are being uploaded to YouTube at the Watertown SDA Church channel, and that's a quick link to take you there. And as well, you'll be seeing the link for the Steps to Christ. If you want to be able to download it, you can. And if you want a physical copy tonight, please make sure you get one. Again, make sure you're staying in touch with your Living Free friend. Don't let that slip. And Living Free friends, make sure you're reaching out to your support, to your contacts, that you are letting them know that you're looking out for them, that you want to be there to help them. Next meeting is going to be tomorrow night, February 24, 6 p.m., in which the topic will be creating a better lifestyle through exercise and rest. And I hope you all get some good rest tonight.